I love a satellite photo, a land of sweeping plains. And here's another cliche, a picture-perfect image of Perth. All the other cities were named after British grandees, colonial kind of greats of the British Empire. The British, of course, weren't naming the country for the first time, they were renaming the country, which I think is worth remembering. In fact, if we'd adopted the beautiful Noongar names of this country, we could have been called something quite different. The Noongar word for Perth water is Bunin Buro. Most people will know the Noongar name for the Swan River, Durbul Yerrigan. And this is a beautiful painting by a Noongar painter. His name's Rod Garlett. And quite heartbreakingly, I think, he called this painting Beneath Our City is My Ancestors' Land. It's a beautiful painting, but it's got a poignant and powerful title. The really interesting thing about Rod's painting, there's lots of interesting things about it, but one of them is that he says it's our city, not his city. He says it's our city, your city, my city, his people's city. It's an incredibly generous act. I'm not entirely easy about the trajectory of our city. I think as a people, we're certainly proudly detached, we're parochial, we're certainly intolerant of those interfering people from the east. But I think we're also more generally a bit uneasy about who we are, what we want of our city, what we think it should be, and I think most importantly, where we want to go as a city. But I think Perth's getting flabby, like me, according to my harsh, cruel teenage daughters. It's like the city's become middle-aged and it needs a boot camp. It needs the heart to go sort of beat stronger. It needs the circulation systems to work better. It needs the vital organs to be healthier. I don't think we're there yet. And in fact, I think we're really resistant to that. We're kind of struggling with this idea that we need to be a bigger city and we need to be a denser city. Density is actually a dirty word. And I think somehow we need to get over that. These are actually really interesting statistics. What it's telling us is where we're at, and it's telling us where we're going. Not many people will know this, but Perth is projected to grow faster than almost any Western city in the world over the next 40 or 50 years. I think that's an astonishing statistic. And yet we resist a denser city. Those figures down the bottom there, 6,000 people per square kilometre, 16,800 people per square kilometre in Melbourne, they're current figures, and that's Perth 2,500. You know, we're half Brisbane, which is another big, flabby Australian city. And we're very, very uncomfortable with the idea of sorting that out. This is what we're doing. We're building lots and lots of these suburbs. Suburbs used to be fantastic. They were green, there were big blocks, people had a Hills hoist out the back. Try fitting a Hills hoist into the backyards of those houses. There are no backyards. And we're trying in a kind of half-baked way to make a more dense city, but we're actually building the wrong kinds of houses, we're doing the wrong kinds of suburbs, and I think we're creating, not long into the future, a dispersed, inequitable, ecological mess of a city in one of the most delicate ecologies in the world. Sometimes you need to go to a new place to kind of clear your head and get a new perspective on things and apply yourself effectively to the big, wicked problems that we face. And I, by accident, had that experience earlier this year. I went to the Pilbara and discovered a whole lot of fantastic things. Not just a beautiful environment, but some really interesting social dynamics, which I'll talk about in a moment. I'm not into camping, really bad at it. I tried it once when I was at uni, and I had a disastrous, miserable night with a beautiful girl, and that was the end of what I thought was a promising romance. And as a result, I didn't go back there for 30 years. Now, My wife's not into camping either. In fact, this is her in her more natural habitat. Not long ago, at a party, and no, it's not me. I still don't know who the guy is, but she was obviously having fun. This is not our natural habitat, but it's a beautiful habitat, breathtakingly beautiful. And it certainly cleared my head. It's like a painting. That's actually a photograph, but it's like a painting. Almost makes me weep. It's ridiculous. What we also found was a really interesting human dynamic in the campground. People interact in campgrounds in a really different way. But the campers out there will know that beautiful, generous things happen in the campground. And I'm trying to unpick why. People are kind and generous, and they share. And they behave in a way that we don't often behave, weirdly, in our suburbs. Sometimes we do. The nice neighbours do. But lots of us, other neighbours, don't. We worry about our fences and our boundaries. But here in the campground, people are very generous. This is the fish gutting shack at Coral Bay, where people gather to boast, of course, about the catch and to share. And on the first night, we arrived, set up incompetently in the dark. No one said anything rude, but when we'd finished setting up our tent and caravan incompetently in the dark, a guy appeared out of the dark and said, "Here's a bowl of fish. Enjoy. It's surplus to what we need tonight." And this is my friend James, who had 7 punctures in as many days on the camp. He's a very phlegmatic sort of bloke, but even he was gritting his teeth by the 6th or 7th. That's him filling up his car after the 7th puncture. And that night, at the Karajini car park, a young kid, a 16-year-old, who was the son of a friend of his who we happened to bump into, turned up with his tyre repair kit. And, "James, I can help you." Very enthusiastic kid, very enthused about off-road vehicles, very enthused about repairs, and he helped sort it, I think. Might have made it worse, but he was there to help. And these are our kids. This is our 3 kids and their 3 mates, washing up without being asked. Very weird. We came home, they've stopped. They don't do it anymore. But out there on the campsite, they did it. Even when it was dark and they had to schlep across, dark campsite to a washing up room, and might have had something to do with some good-looking boys who were there on occasion. The campsite, I think, is a really instructive place because there are rules of engagement. And somehow we've lost the rules of engagement in our communities in the cities. We've forgotten how to live like communities. And we're actually going to have to learn how to do that much better in denser neighbourhoods because we're going to be closer together. And weirdly, when we're close together in the campsite, we do it. We're flexible. It's like, "That's all right, mate, no worries. Come have a beer. I don't mind that you put your peg on my bit of dirt. That's okay." And back at home, it's like, "What's with the tree? It's hanging over my fence." Now in Perth, we're still not doing it better. I think we've got to do it better through these 3 key things. And this is the other thing about the campsite. Everyone chooses to be there. They're not being forced, they make a choice. So what we've got to do is work out how to choose to live together closer and better. But we've got to get closer together because otherwise we're going to stuff up our incredible corner of this country. And we need a sense of mutual obligation, which I think we've lost really badly. And we do need density. It's not a dirty word. We need to build apartments, we need to build communities where we do live together, where we can live together, and we need to do that because if we don't, we're building these big, dispersed, spread out cities where the size of the cities makes our communities inequitable. When you live in an hour and a half from the city, you don't come in and go to the university or the gallery or the museum. It's too hard. And the only way we're going to do it better is to get a much denser city so that we can actually pay for the public transport and pay for all those things that are going to make our cities work a whole lot better. I think we can do it, and I think we need to do it because it's a really simple equation. Density allows us to protect this extraordinary landscape. And it's extraordinary landscapes and the beautiful landscapes are not just up in the Pilbara. The southwest is one of the ecological hotspots in the world. The really hard to love Banksia woodlands are actually incredibly delicate, precious environments that we've just been tearing down willy-nilly over the last 30 years. That's all the stuff around Perth. What we need of our cities, it's not just about density and ecology, it's actually about creating cities of opportunity. Cities of opportunity for my children in the fifth row, every other kid in this place, and every other kid in this city. So I think if we don't get it right, we're going to fall behind and we're not going to have a wonderful future like the wonderful place and the wonderful experience and wonderful community and the wonderful economy that this country's enjoyed for the last 50 years. Thank you.